Thanks for inviting me to present to your meeting. Karen emailed me a couple weeks ago and asked if I would talk about Google Book Search and some other things that I have presented before at WYLD network meetings, and some of you may have already seen some of these things. This might be just a good refresher for you. For others, it might be just all completely new. What I'm going to talk to you about is what we're doing with the resources that we have to try to make things like Wildcat and our library holdings more visible to people no matter where they're finding things. Okay, and so I'm going to talk about Google Book Search. We're going to talk about WorldCat, the WorldCat registry, and then a really cool WYLD tool that we have, which you may or may not have used before, called LiveX. So we're going to, that's kind of what we're going to go over, and it should take about half an hour or so. Since we're recording, if you could possibly wait till the end to ask questions, that would be great. So first of all, I just wanted to show you, I'm sure some of you have used Google Book Search or just Google to find books. I'm sure your patrons definitely have. Right now I'm just in Google, and I searched a title that we actually own. My littlest one loves this one, The Scrambled States of America. And notice that in Google, they've worked with Amazon.com and Google have worked together to make book results come up to the top. There's, you know, as you can see, there's almost excuse me, 500,000 results for this search that I did. But right here at the top is an Amazon.com result. And also down here just a little bit further is a Google Book Search result. And if you've not used Google Books before, there's some really neat things about that. One of which is often a preview of the book, sometimes a very short preview of just a cover, or sometimes there'll be several pages in that you can look at. And in this case, we're bringing up a picture of the cover, and here's just a little bit of the inside. So that's Google Book Search. The really neat thing about Google Book Search is that from there you can actually find this book in a library. And I'm pointing over here on the right to a link. This is always going to appear in Google Book Search. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. What this is doing is going over to OCLC's WorldCat service and pulling up the title, usually based on an ISBN search. Okay, so here we are, and the neat thing about WorldCat is that it has holdings for pretty much all the libraries in Wyoming, definitely all the libraries in our consortia. We do what's called a transfer, we did a back transfer of holdings a couple of years ago to make sure that our holdings were up to date with OCLC, and then we regularly update our holdings and give them a file of what's been deleted from our database as well. So WorldCat should be fairly up to date. And right here you can see I'm in Laramie County, so of course the library closest to me is Laramie County Library System, and that's based on the IP address here. You can manually change that if you want, but no matter where you are in the world, the OCLC service, the WorldCat service, is going to do what's called IP geolocation. It's going to look at where your computer traffic is originating from and guess about where you are. So by default, it'll populate that location with the closest thing that it knows and start showing results. And if we scroll down here a little ways, I think on the second page, we should bring up, here's Glenrock Branch Library. And if we click on that, that is actually going to open WYLD in a frame. And it didn't find this particular ISBN. Now, I'm sure some of you realize that works may have multiple editions with multiple ISBNs. And there are ways around this problem. I'm going to show you later how that tool that I mentioned deals with this kind of issue a little bit better. But anyway, in the meantime, I'm going to go back to the item details on Wildcat. We do not want to take their survey. Okay. And just giving you, another view. I hope that most of you are fairly familiar with Wildcat. We've also got links in here to search, just to go directly to WYLD. Search Wyoming Libraries Wildcat. Depending on where you are, you may see this link to request an item. And that should open up, well, that's opened up an OCLC form. In most cases, and I think that's just a building specific thing, in most cases you should see a link to VDX for a user to request it, or not see this link at all. And of course then a link over to First Search. So what they have done is populated information about the libraries and how to search the libraries in Wildcat based on information that's saved in a big database called the Wildcat Registry. I'm just going to quickly do another search here. Remember, we started way back in Google, but now we're in Wildcat because Google sent us over to Wildcat. And again, here's our book. There's 20 editions of this book. We're going to talk about this little blue paw a little bit later. Notice that OCLC Wildcat has a lot of cool features, a lot of social networking features where you can link to this page, you can bookmark it, you can tag it for delicious, all kinds of fun stuff. And you can also go back to a Google preview if you want. Again, here's one in Laramie County Library System. Let's just take a look and see if this ISBN gets us results. And there it is. Okay, so I'm just going to go back over to Wildcat. Okay, so now I'm going to go over and show you the Wildcat registry to show you why some of these things work the way they work. And let's just look for Glen Rock. Generally in the registry you don't want to pick the uppercase one. That's a different authorization. Okay, so here's Glen Rock's information in the Wildcat registry. This is what it uses to search your online catalog. There's its base URL. It knows a bunch of stuff about you based on information that OCLC has had for years. They originally populated the registry with information from First Search accounts. And if you click over here under Online Catalog, this gives you some basic information that was populated from First Search, and this is actually some stuff that I'm working on enhancing so that the searches are a little more specific to your library. So for instance, an ISBN search is not specific to Glen Rock. However, an OCLC number search is, because it's logging in as library equals converse Glen Rock. So we need to fix some of these things up here and have OCLC Wildcat pick that up. If you have rights to, you can edit this page. I have rights to all our consortium members to manage these. That doesn't prevent you from doing it as well and requesting the rights to do that. You can also take a look at branches and affiliations for this group. Now, if you look at Converse County, Glen Rock shows up as a branch, but Glen Rock doesn't show its parent institution right now, so there's another place where they're missing some information. You'll find a lot of information in here that's missing, or you won't find. IP addresses here don't have anything to do with authentication. They're just purely informational. If you wanted to put IP addresses in here so that a vendor, for instance, could look you up in Wildcat Registry, then you can do that, but that would be just another place that you'd probably have to remember to make sure they were up to date. So the authentication for First Search is done through the First Search admin that I manage generally for everybody. So here, again, you could put that in if you wanted to. You can, if you're an academic site and you know your open URL resolver, you can put that in as well. All kinds of fun stuff that you can put in. Contacts, you can make sure those are up to date or not. This wants someone to sign in. So it's really easy to create an account. Anybody, anywhere can create an account in the Wildcat registry and register then to edit profiles. And generally you have to provide your OCLC authorization to do that. But once you have, let's just bring up, once you have this information in here, that's how they build some of those links out of Wildcat to run the search from Google, and also you'll see some other stuff that we're going to do later. So in Campbell County, they have a little bit more information here about their homepage. Their online catalog is a little more specific in their base URL. And so this is one that I've updated to be more specific, and I'm hoping for the Wildcat service to pick that up soon. So that's what's behind all of these links, and why they work really is keeping your information up to date in the registry. This is what OCLC uses primarily to build those links. And I used to think it was all done from First Search Admin, but actually the Wildcat registry takes precedence over that. And also, of course, the reason that a lot of these linking things work is that we make the effort to make sure that our holdings are up to date and correct as possible with OCLC too. So hopefully that was fairly clear. Remember, we just started out where somebody might begin to look for a book. We don't want scrambled eggs. Brought up that book and went directly through Wildcat to search in Wildcat. Now I'm going to talk about the tool that I mentioned. Open up, and I'm using the Firefox browser. Some of you may be more used to using Internet Explorer. I happen to like Firefox for a number of reasons, and one of them is that there's a lot of tools and add-ons that you can use. From our WYLD page, and also from any of the new catalog pages, you'll see a link to tools. These have actually been there for a while, but the tool I'm going to talk to you about is called LiveX. And it is actually a browser plugin. It was first developed for Firefox, but now there is an Internet Explorer version available. That's been available since about last July. And what I did was went to this site, anybody can do this, and built what's called an edition and gave it WYLD specific information about our library catalogs, how to search them, our open URL resolver, which I'll explain and show you what that is in a little bit, and some other stuff. So what you do basically is you install a plugin that's going to give you some functionality in your browser, and this, again, this does work for IE as well. There's some other tools here. There's also an explanation of WorldCat again. If any of you came to the program that I did with Patrick White in Buffalo last year, he did a couple of other plugins called BookBurrow and NovelCat, which integrate Novelist and Amazon.com and some other book sites with holdings in WYLD, and they're kind of fun, so you could check those out too. I don't think we're going to have time to talk about those in detail, but take a look at this tools page if you want to read more about them. So I'm going to click on the LiveX Learn More and Install. It's really simple to install. You click on whichever edition you want. You may get a pop-up saying that, you know, this site is trying to install an ActiveX control or something like that, and you need to say, okay, go ahead. And what it is going to do is once it's installed and you restart the browser, you're going to see a new toolbar up above here. And in this case, you'll see there's a little blue paw up in the upper right, and it says LiveX WYLD. It's going to give you a new search box, kind of like a Google search box, with some drop-down functionality and this option to search Wildcat. So once you've installed this, no matter where you are on the web, so let's say you're at NPR, this toolbar stays with you. So you can go ahead and search for things from up here in Wildcat. I was just trying to see if there was something I would pick up on this front page that might be something that we would take a look at. So we can type in something like, you know, Barack Obama. And we can do a keyword search or a title, author, subject, so on. So let's do a quick author search. Click on Search Wildcat. And from NPR, you've opened a new window in your browser and done a quick search on Barack Obama that fast by using this toolbar up here. And you saw, I think, that you can also search by title, subject, and so on. There's also some quick links over here that will just take you to the LiveX page in Wyoming libraries. So, but that's not really the neatest thing that LiveX will do. Let's go back over to this Google search. And I don't know if you noticed earlier, but there's an underline and some dots under this number on the Google search results. That is actually there because we have the LiveX toolbar installed. It's called a queue. And what happens when you have this toolbar installed is that once you load a web page, the LiveX plugin kind of scans the web page and looks for patterns of numbers. And if it detects a pattern that looks like an ISBN or an ISSN to it, then it will set that up as a queue that you can click on. So in this case, if I click on this number, it's actually going to go over and use what is called an XISBN library lookup. Now notice you'll see that's the OCLC logo over there. What that is doing and why this is better than that other link that we followed earlier is it's using this XISBN lookup, which if you're not familiar with what XISBN is, as I mentioned earlier, there's often multiple editions of books with multiple ISBNs. The XISBN service from OCLC actually groups those ISBNs together. So when you search one, you search all of its possible ISBNs. So if you recall, when we did the search the other way earlier, we got no results. But doing it with that LiveX queue, I brought back results, 2 results for this title in all WYLD libraries. So it was a much more successful search using the LiveX queue. Okay. Now that's one type of queue, a numeric key that it will pull up. Uh-oh. I just got a message that there was a network connection that might affect my UGMA session. I may have to, hopefully I won't lose you. While we're waiting to get you logged back in, does anybody have any questions so far?
Can you install LiveX on a computer that's using both Firefox and IE?
Absolutely. You can have it on both of the browsers. All right, so we were back and we were talking about XISBN lookup and why that's better than looking up just one ISBN at a time, because it might be in our catalog under any one of, you can see this actually searched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ISBNs at the same time. So pull back results. Now some other things that you can do with LiveX, let me just go over to Amazon. And we'll just pull up a book. I love these auto-suggest features. So nice. Okay, here's that book we saw a little while ago. Let's just go ahead and pull that up. And did you see that little blue paw kind of pop up and flicker? That was LiveX working to take a look at the screen and to recognize that this is a book. And what happens when that little blue paw is available, that's another type of queue I mentioned numeric keys earlier with ISBNs, ISSNs. This is another queue which when you click on that paw, remember I'm just in Amazon from anywhere in the world, as long as I have that LiveX toolbar installed, it opens up a Wildcat search and searches all the possible ISBNs for that particular title, which I think is really cool. And depending on where you are, you may see those queues. I've even seen those queues show up in my emails when I'm reading them in Firefox, because it just looks at every screen as you browse the web, and if it recognizes something that it thinks is a possible search point, it's going to flag it with either a little blue paw or with an underline for a number. And I'll just give you another example here. Let's go over to clear that out. The New York Times. Okay, and let's look at books. And hardcover fiction. And we'll just pick the first one here. Hopefully this works today. Look, there's my little blue paw again. I'm on the New York Times website, but because I have LiveX installed up here, it recognizes that this is something that can be searched in WYLD. So I'll click on the blue paw, and boom, there goes a search over to WYLD. Now it did do a title search, and that's kind of based on the fact that, I don't know if you noticed, but there wasn't an ISBN on this page for it to pick or to find. But it knew that this was the title of a book based on probably some information about the layout of the page that it's used to encountering. I can tell you with the New York Times, it doesn't always happen, but anytime you see one of these little blue paws, there's some kind of Wildcat integration, and that's a great way of promoting our services anywhere on the web through this particular little toolbar. Some other neat things about it is, I'll just go back over here to NPR and do a quick search, is you can actually highlight text anywhere on a web page and send a search over to WYLD. And this is really neat. Let's say that we're interested in Jeffrey Sachs and we want to see if we have any of his books in WYLD. You highlight his name, right-click, and a contextual menu pops up showing you the types of searches that you can do in WYLD. So in this case, we could search for author Jeffrey Sachs and find 12 titles where he's either a partial author or Commonwealth and the End of Poverty are two of his most well-known books. So right there, somebody was on NPR and they were thinking, I wonder if we have, any of that, anything by him in WYLD. And with two clicks, I guess, highlight click and then a right click, you send a search over to WYLD. So that is a really cool feature there. Then I want to talk just a little bit more about, I think we have some time to talk about open URL resolving, which open URL resolving takes generally pieces of a citation of an article and uses a lookup service to find out if you have access to that article somewhere in your resources. That's a very simple explanation for how it works. But let's say that, I'm just going to open up one window here so we don't get confused, that we're searching something in one of the sites like Google Scholar, where a lot of researchers actually do search. And I'm going to go to stem cell research, click on search, and I wanted to point out a couple of things on this page. First of all, notice that you see this link to EBSCO Host full text. That's there because Google and EBSCO and the Wyoming State Library talk to each other. And I actually talked to a real person at Google, believe it or not. There are people there. And we set up information about the packages that we subscribe to through EBSCO Host, and they were able to build that information into Google searches. So if you are searching Google Scholar, you may see these links that say EBSCO Host full text. You may need to go into your Scholar preferences and actually tell it to look for library links. So you need to make sure that Wyoming State Library EBSCO Host full text is checked. So you may have to search for Wyoming State Library and then check this checkbox in your Scholar preferences and save it. And then you'll start seeing this link. And what this does is a quick jump over into EBSCO to their open URL. And remember, that was called Leukemia, Stem Cells, and the Evolution of Cancer Stem Cell Research. And there it is. There's the article. You can get the PDF full text right here. Okay. So that's what the EBSCO Host full text bit is. And not everybody's going to see that. Like I said, you need to add that to your Scholar preferences, and then you would start seeing it. There may be one for University of Wyoming. I would be surprised if they didn't have something set up as well. But I wanted to go down and pick another title here that doesn't have EBSCO Host full text, and we're just going to go ahead and click on this, Ethical and Social Considerations of Stem Cell Research. And this goes over to the Nature website. Notice that you can't see the whole article, but also notice that we have a blue paw again. Okay? And another thing that you'll start seeing a lot more when you look at articles online is what's called a DOI. That stands for Document Object Identifier. That's a unique number that's assigned to a particular article. And there's a service called Crossref. It's actually an international service that goes out and looks these up. Publishers register with Crossref and looks up these DOIs to help you resolve them and find where else you can get access to this article. So this has a Q, it's underlined, the DOI is underlined, and there's also a little blue paw. And because I have told, in the edition that I built for WYLD, I told it what our link resolver was. That's the reason that this is going to work. This takes us over to Wildcat Link Manager, which is the open URL service that we subscribe to. And it has information about all the packages that we have through EBSCO and other services. And you'll notice that I can find the title, or right here it says I can find the article. It knows that we have coverage for Nature in these sources up to, when you see something that says like 12 months ago, that's going to be an embargo. So anything newer than a year is not going to be available. But let's go ahead and click on Find Article in Academic Search Elite, because as you know, in the public libraries you don't have access to Premier. And right here is our article in PDF full text. So remember, we found it in Google Scholar. We clicked on the link and it took us to the website, the publisher's website, which was Nature. And then using our LiveX link, we actually were able to use our open URL resolver to get the person to the actual article, rather than from the publisher website maybe having to buy it. So when you see information about having to buy an article, take a look and make sure that you might not be able to get it somewhere else. And this little blue paw and this DOI, which are basically the same thing, it's probably just wrapping, could give you access to a particular article. So hopefully that was fairly clear. The link resolver is a really fantastically powerful tool, and a lot of the colleges have one through Serial Solutions. They use their own. This one we happen to have access to through our VDX subscription, and so this is the one that we're using right now. And what they do is they get regular updates to the publications that are available in all these packagers, aggregators that we tell them we subscribe to. So that information is not something we have to manage. We just have to go in and say, oh, now we have EBSCO something else, or oh, we don't subscribe to this anymore. And so that keeps that information in a centralized place so that people coming in from anywhere can find articles. So let's do one other really cool thing that LiveX allows us to do. And then I think we can kind of wrap it up and talk about any questions you might have. I'm going to go over to Eric and do a quick search. This is the author of an article. Remember that Eric, the publications are often not something you can get your hands on right away. They're either saved as Eric documents or Eric journals. You might need to go somewhere else to find them. So keeping that in mind, this article is, here's our author, and it does not have full text. It has some information about trying to find the full text. It doesn't have permission to provide the full text for this record. So what can you do? Well, one thing that you can do with LiveX is highlight this piece of the citation and drag it up here to this Scholar button and let go. And this is our article right here, Quantitative Exploration of Pre-Service Teachers, and we have the option to go to EBSCO Host full text right from here. So Eric didn't know that we have EBSCO Host and that you can find stuff there, but LiveX helps us integrate those resources with Eric by pulling that citation up there to Scholar. Scholar does a lookup, and we can go ahead and jump over to the full text of the article from EBSCO Host full text. And you can actually drag and drop citations onto this Scholar button even from a PDF. I don't know if this is going to pull up very quickly or not, but if, for instance, you found another citation in a PDF article that you were interested in looking up, sometimes there might be some citations. It's a long article. Oh, let's just go down to the bottom. Sorry, hope I don't make anybody car sick. So here's a bunch of citations, and you know, there's no guarantee that we have any of these, but you might be able to pull up the citation, drop it onto Scholar, and see if it can find anything. And actually it did. Pre-service teacher technology competencies. There's no guarantee we're actually going to find the full text of this, but what's neat is that you were able to get a step closer to it by using that Scholar button from LiveX. Now, does anybody have any questions for me about any of these tools or how they're interrelated?
If a patron was using LiveX from home,
Mm-hmm.
a host.
You kind of cut out, but I'm anticipating that maybe your question is, would they have access to EBSCO Host full text?
They need to log in with their ID.
Yeah, they would probably be prompted for that. You can actually do some stuff with LiveX preferences, and I didn't prep for this, but I believe there's a place in here where you can put in your, yeah, here it is, proxy, right here. So you may need to, so WYLD proxy for me right now is enabled, and believe that's built into to the actual installation. So it will proxy you, and then you would have to provide your library card and PIN just like normal to link into those things. So if they disabled the proxy, then no, they wouldn't be able to get to some of these things.
They would also easily be able to place holds in Wildcat with some of those other articles or books by having it in the proxy.
Well, you don't really need a proxy server to place holds in WYLD. You just need your library card and PIN. So that, you know, you always have to provide that when you're going to place a hold. So that would seem completely normal to them. They wouldn't be doing anything different.
Thank you.
Does the state library have any handouts on LiveX?
We don't have handouts, but we do have the web page that I showed you at the beginning. Let me just go back to that. Of course, I don't have it bookmarked, but if you just go to any WYLD page and click on Tools, and even if you're, say, at your login screen for Wildcat, in this case Glen Rocks, there's this Tools link there as well. So you click on that, it's going to take you over here to this web page where the first resource is LiveX, and you can click on Learn More and Install, and this is where all the information about it is. So that's your handout. It's online.
Great, because this has, we could really do a lot of training for this.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of pieces. Like I said, until I was working on this yesterday, I had never even really tried the drag and drop onto the Google Scholar button. So I think that the cues are definitely one of the coolest features, and then the right-clicking contextual search that you can do is really useful. I hope that's what you were expecting, Karen. I wasn't really sure when we talked about Google Book Search whether this is what you wanted me to talk about, but I think it's cool, so that's what I decided to talk about.
Karen is ill today.
Oh, she is? Okay. Well.
Our libraries and install this and play with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doing my best.
That's great to hear, and you should definitely try to promote it to patrons because from home, this is going to give them more access and more places to your stuff.
I think it really thinks like our students think.
Yeah, you just try to be where they are as much as possible. Well, if you don't have any more questions for me right now, that's fine. You know where to find me. You can send me an email or give me a call at any time to ask questions about this. Periodically, I do go in and check to see if we need to build a new edition of LiveX in case it's, maybe added some new features. Like last July, I rebuilt it because they added the ability to search to install it in Internet Explorer. And when I do build a new edition, people who have it installed will get, I don't know if you've used Firefox much with plugins, but you'll get it when it's launching. You'll get a little note that pops up and says that updates have been found for your plugins, and IE should do the same thing, so that it just tells them to go out and get the latest edition. But I haven't had to rebuild it for 8 or 9 months. I just checked it because we were relaunching the catalog and trying to make that tools link a little more obvious. I just checked it again last week, and there really was no new functionality worth going through the trouble of rebuilding the edition. And this was built by Virginia Tech because they wanted to do it. It's a free service for libraries. We use their name and give them credit down below here when we talk about who made it and so on. Annette Bailey, I've actually seen her present. She's a very nice person. And I look for even more great things to come from them, building on this particular tool and other things that are out there. So there's some really great stuff. There's lots of other things we didn't talk about, like search widgets and promoting your resources by doing something as simple as putting a library catalog search box on your web page, some things like that too. But this is the LiveX toolbar, and it's available now, and it's a lot of fun. Well, thanks for having me present for you guys. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to go ahead and log out of the UGMA session, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your meeting.